Hi guys, this is a list of tips for Astra Malorum that make your life way easier. You can take down Oscar super fast, get free perks, there's new mule kick tech and updates to some of the old perks that have now been changed, and there's a cheesy way to make the boss fight super easy, and there's a non-cheesy way to make the boss fight super easily that will not get patched. So without further ado, let's begin. The new Oscar mini-boss on this map is so frustrating to take down because he's so tanky unless you know these strats. We're going to pull from some of the stuff that we learned from Ashes of the Damned here, and we're going to look to the crafting bench. On there, you've got a few options. One, which we're going to start with, is the point turret. If you throw point turrets down, it's actually going to automatically target the UFOs that surround Oscar and keep his shield up. And all you need to do to make Oscar damageable is destroy that UFO. So if the point turret is doing that job for you, it's going to make it much easier to keep him consistently damageable. Then on top of that, just like with the Xerxes, the hunter-killer drones are amazing for taking down mini-bosses. You just need to take those UFOs down and then throw a couple of those hunter-killers into the air, and they'll do a massive amount of damage to Oscar. Next, something you might not have realized yet unless you've done the main quest Easter egg, is that you don't actually have to take Oscar down a lot of the time. When he spawns in, he won't be in combat mode straight away, and this means he'll patrol the map with a yellow light. But so long as he doesn't see you in his field of view, he won't enter combat mode and he'll just keep patrolling. So if you stay behind him, you can actually run around quite a lot, make quite a lot of noise, and he's just not going to know you're there. So the next time you consider trying to kill Oscar, maybe consider instead just dodging Oscar. Next, I have to accept defeat. I was wrong about something because Treyarch have proven to me that if you give critical feedback about this game, they will actually make positive changes as a result, and this is an example of it. So I was saying before, I didn't like the Armor-matic ammo mod on Vulture Aid because people said it was good for not having to do the plating up animation, but actually wasted loads of armor plates. Like, it would use them really inefficiently. Thankfully, in the most recent patch for the game, Treyarch changed it so it will now only plate back up again when you've lost an entire plate, and this means that it's much more economical, it works the way that it should do, and on top of this, if you're completely out of plates and you go to a crafting bench, you can just spam the craft plate button and it will fill your plate meter and fill your reserve, which is very different to how it works without this augment on, because you have to buy the armor plates, then you have to go into the plating up animation, then reuse the crafting bench, and then get more plates. It's horrendous. So the augment is a really nice quality of life improvement here. Next, Astra Malorum is a beautiful zombies map, one of the most gorgeous skyboxes we've ever seen, and a really developed dark ether aesthetic, but that also could end up distracting you, and you might find yourself getting a little close to this cliff edge here. Now, there's good and bad news. The bad news is that you can fall off the edge, and it's not going to be a fun experience to do so because you're going to take a ton of damage. However, the good news is that it will never actually kill you. You can try sprinting off this thing over and over and over again, and the lowest you'll be able to get your health, at least in my experience, is about 20 HP. And so obviously, if you take a hit from a zombie at that point, you'll die, but the drop itself is usually non-deadly. Next, sometimes in Astra, I'll find myself running around and searching for an ammo box, but getting a little frustrated at how awkward some of the placements are, and especially because Oscar is so tanky, I end up burning a lot of ammo and then needing to do ammo runs a little bit more frequently than maybe I would have done in Ashes. Thankfully though, there's actually a little trick you can do to sort of get a free max ammo without using a gobblegum and without using a power-up and without buying an ammo crate. It's actually going to be buying a perk, which sounds weird, but currently, when you buy Mule Kick, it refills the ammo on the gun that you've got out, and that's even if you don't have any particular augments equipped. So be intentional with what's in your hands and use it for free ammo if you're in a pinch. Now, speaking of Mule Kick, it's got some of the best augments in the game, and it makes it kind of hard to choose which to use, but here's a quick rundown of my favorites. First of all, fully equipped is really nice to carry more equipment, and that can be really effective if you're doing the Ashes boss fight actually, because you can have more Casimirs. But focusing more on Astra for a moment, I adore Plate Hunter to carry an extra plate. This makes such a massive difference. And I also really like Kickback. This at first doesn't sound so good. It just makes perks cheaper to buy. But the strat here is to buy Mule Kick first in this map because the perk machine is there, so you don't need to wait for Wonder Fizz. And then every subsequent perk you buy in the game is going to have 1,000 points knocked off it, and you're going to end up saving so much money. Next, here's a tip for if you're using the multi-pack augment in Black Ops 7 Zombies. The way it works is pack-punching a gun will have a chance to upgrade other weapons to the same PAP rarity. So for example, let's say I have my Ion, and I pack-punch that to tier 2, and I've got a regular unpacked ray gun in my other slot. There's a chance that will rise to PAP 2 when I PAP my Ion. The important thing to remember here, though, to save a ton of money, especially in cursed mode, is if you're using this, don't upgrade both of your weapons gradually, but instead upgrade one weapon to tier 3 and maybe even tier 4 if you're going there, and leave the other weapon completely unpacked, because then you might be able to make it jump all the way from down at unpack-a-punch level all the way up to tier 4 pack-a-punch, saving you an ungodly amount of points. Next, in the boss fight for Astra, there's an armor wall buy, which is quite a rare thing to see, but there's a trick to using it in the most optimal way that I want to warn you about. So what a lot of people will do is, in cursed mode, they'll buy all the way up to gold armor, and then they'll go into the boss and they'll try to buy armor off the wall as if it was purple armor to refresh their plates, and they won't be able to. This is because the gold armor already auto-regens, and so it doesn't let you instantly refresh your plates in this way. And so one thing you could optionally do in the fight, should you so desire, is you could go in with your reserve plates and go in with purple armor, and just make sure that you've got like 50k points saved up, and then actually buy the gold armor mid-fight as a way to instantly replenish your plates. It sounds like a sketchy thing to do, but in the early stage of the fight, you really don't need gold armor, like especially just for phase 1. So buying it mid-fight is really not that bad. Next, points are hard to come by in standard mode, but they're a lot easier in cursed, and on Ashes, we were all using the Akita you can purchase in Klaus's room. It gives you 10 points per pellet fired into a zombie, and you're firing multiple pellets at once. You can gain a crazy number of points from this thing, but the good news is that it's also on the wall again in Astra. So you're going to go into the Machina Australis, and then go as high up on these little walkways as you can, and you'll find it just here on the wall. Next, you've seen these special rounds on Astra at this point with the meteorites that crash into the asteroid. If they direct impact you, they will damage you and stun you a little bit, so just be wary of that. Next, I have to accept defeat against Treyarch again for this tip, because I was talking so much smack about the Fox augment for Wisp T, telling you guys that it was the worst thing in the world because I was doing the solo boss fight on Ashes, and it kept reviving me when I wanted to use equivalent exchange, and by preventing me from using equivalent, it would also prevent me from keeping all my perks, so I would get stood back up, and I'd only have 3 perks, which was so frustrating. However, the good news is now, and they've actually stealth patched it, so that now it will get you back up on your feet just like before, but you'll keep all your perks each time. So this has become basically another 3 free revives where you keep everything, which is incredibly powerful, so I would definitely recommend using this. Next, late game trade outs at the mystery box can be really stressful, and waiting for the box to cycle around is just tedious, honestly. But Treyarch has finally given us a solution, and this is also really powerful if you're in a game with friends. What they've done is they've updated the box, so now when you knife it, the weapon in the box will just drop to the floor. And this means that you don't have to swap your weapon out every single time, and you can cycle the box so much faster. On top of this, if later in your game you want to trade weapons with a teammate, previously what you'd have to do is go buy an expensive wall buy for like 3 or 4 or 5,000 points, and then use that gun on the floor to do your trading. Whereas now, you can just buy a box weapon for 950 points no matter what round you're on, melee it onto the floor, and then do your trading that way. So it's much cheaper. Next, on Ashes, we had the purple pods around the map, and toxic growth meant we could get early round pack punch and loads of salvage, and the healing pods also gave us extra salvage, so we could get set up really easily on that map. Whereas on Astra, you're kind of punched in the face a little bit. You don't have nearly as many super fast mode, get all the salvage in the world kind of strategies, and it takes longer to get ready for Pack-a-Punch. But what we do have on Astra is the purple crystals, and I really strongly recommend you continuously harvest these in your game, because the extra salvage that they give you will stack up, and the crystals respawn every couple of rounds, so you may as well hoover it up as you move around the map. That's not the main tip here though. The main thing is if you buy Death Perception and you use the augment treasure hunter, the purple crystals will also drop ammo. And it's not just 1 or 2 crystals that do it, it's every single one. So this is great for keeping you stocked up so you don't have to ever buy ammo. And that should mean that you can get to pack-a-punch a little faster because your points economy is a little bit better off. Also, this tip was provided by Blood Bunny in my Twitch chat, and if you guys want to be featured in the next video, just like Blood Bunny, all you've got to do is leave a comment on this video with your tip, and if it's a really good one, I'll share it with the community so we can all nail this zombies map and get even better at the game. Now, on Ashes, there were a few side Easter eggs I did every game to get set up and accelerate my pace up the power curve, and in Astra, there are slightly fewer that I always do, but this next one is essential in my opinion. However, you need to spawn in as Nikolai in order to do it, and you then just do the following 4 or 5 things. It's very quick. You grab 3 Molotovs, you Molotov this area here by Wisp T, then this area here, revealing footprints, and this area here. Then you grab yourself 1 more Molotov, and you throw it down just like I'm doing in the gameplay here, and then a little toy will spawn next to this cave. You interact with the toy, you'll be sent into the side Easter egg, play along with what the game tells you to do, and you'll come out at the end with some loot. And I got a gold gun from this, for no work essentially. And that's a weapon that is worth, what, something like 8k salvage to go from low rarity to gold, and all I had to do was throw a couple of Molotovs to get there. So this is definitely worthwhile. You can probably get ray guns from this as well. Next, here's another side Easter egg I do every game in Astra to help me get set up faster. You must have a pack-a-punch gun in order to do this, and you're then going to run to the following locations and do what I do. First, go to the Museum Infinitum and break open this display cabinet and then shoot the skull to make its eyes glow purple. Then hold square to pick the skull up. Then go to the Stargazer's courtyard, and in this zombie barrier, you're going to shoot the skull and grab it. Then go to the Machina Australis area, and you'll see it inside this display cabinet. You need to obviously do the same thing. Then we're going to go to the Veil Walk, and you'll find it wedged in this brick wall. So grab that skull, and then finally in the Luminarium, you'll find the skull in the corner, and you need to grab that one as well. Once collected, place all 5 of the skulls on these red markers on top of this chest of drawers in the Machina Australis area, and they'll do a little dance and raise in the air in an order, and you need to shoot them in that order, and you'll then get a free perk. Next, there are actually a couple of free perk options in Astra. You could be doing the skulls, like I explained a moment ago, or you could be doing one of the other side quests. But crucially, I would recommend you do all of those free perk quests towards the end of your perk purchasing journey. The reason for that is those later perks in your game are going to be more expensive in the Wonder Fizz, and you may as well just get them for free rather than getting the early game perks for free and maybe getting a perk that you don't even want sooner rather than later. Next, be careful of losing your wonder weapons in Black Ops 7 Zombies because it's very easy to make this mistake. If you buy Mule Kick and you've got your ray gun in your 3rd slot, what used to happen is if you went down, you would just lose the gun. It would just be gone, zapped out of existence. Whereas now it's a little different, and your wonder weapon will actually fall onto the ground below you, and you'll have to manually pick it up again. This means, in my opinion, the best thing to do is keep your wonder weapons in slot 1 and slot 2, and any bullet gun that you have as a final weapon is the one that you should keep in slot 3, so that if you do have a sketchy situation and it does drop to the floor, you don't lose the game entirely if you forget to pick it up again. Next, the wonder weapon is not super powerful in this map unless you know how to use it right. There's actually 2 sides to this. First of all, here's some gameplay of me using it right during a round. It's insane. It's actually just unreal because it has a literal infinite ammo and it takes out everything around me. And the trick here is just to not spam it all on one target, because then you're going to end up getting clogged up with zombies waiting for the gun's ammo to come back. Instead, by just maintaining a really steady pace, you end up taking out everything very easily. But the second way to use it properly is the Frenzied Guard cheese. This is useful for the boss fight, and it's also useful for taking down Oscar. So let's show you it on Oscar first. I'm going to use Frenzied Guard with the Frenzy Fire and Extension augments, and I'm then going to use it, and I'm going to spam Oscar, and he's going to die. Now, if it doesn't work, you might need to go to an ammo crate and buy ammo, which is weird, but it's just the way this cheese works. But the main thing people are using it for is to cheese the boss fight. So as you can see in the clips here, you can pop your Frenzied and then melt the boss on the final stage, and it means that phase 4 goes by in like 10 seconds, and there's basically no risk to you as well. It's incredible, so I highly recommend doing this. And If you need a more in-depth tutorial about how this all works and how to prevent it from glitching out, I've got a video called Never Fail the Easter Egg Again or something like that linked in the description, and that video goes into it in plenty more depth as well. Next, let's say you're running a game and you can't get a ray gun for the life of you, but you're using equivalent exchange and you're worried you're not going to be able to revive yourself if you get downed. The good news is you can actually use other damage sources to get you up in these scenarios. So for example, let's say you're using the energy mine with the energy turret augment. If you feel like, oh yeah, I'm probably going to be cooked here and you know you're going to die, you could throw one of those turrets down, and then while you're downed, the turret will be shooting zombies, and that will be damage that counts towards your equivalent popping, and you'll just stand right back up. The same also applies for things like a Casimir. Obviously, you'd rather the Casimir just protect you completely, but if there's a boss, for example, that's attacking you that is going to ignore the Casimir, and you know it's going to down you, throwing the Cas might still be a good idea because then it will damage the zombies while you're dead, and you'll stand back up. Next, I mentioned at the start of the video we'd have some extra tips for the boss fight other than just the cheese, because there's such a big chance that that gets patched. And it's really necessary too, because the Astra Malorum boss is so spongy. It feels like his armor is never going to break, but this tip is going to save you a lot of time, and it's going to break the boss's armor super easily. So drumroll please, the reveal is the XR3 Ion? I know what you're thinking. You think I'm actually insane. You think I've lost my mind. But just watch me here, okay? Watch what happens. When I use it with the right setup, and I go into the boss, and I watch the armor fall off like goddamn tendonism, baby! It's incredible for armor breaking, and it means that once those weak spots are exposed, you can start spamming the Wonder Weapon like crazy, and it's going to do tons of damage. So what's the setup for this? Well, obviously you want Tier 3 Pack-a-Punch max rarity, but then you need to go into your Deadshot augments and look for Dead Break. You can use that in combination with Double Caliber on double tap to get increased penetration, and Double Standard where all non-crits do double damage. And that's going to mean that you take those armor plates down in no time. So with all of these tips in mind, you're probably ready to do the main quest Easter egg, and I've got my main quest guide obviously linked on screen, but crucially, I've got an in-depth tips video breaking down exactly what you need to do to never fail that Easter egg ever again. And that's linked on screen right now. It's a video kind of like this one, but with Easter egg focused tips. So click through to that video now, or drop me a comment with your tips that you'd like to be featured in a future tips video, and I'll shout you out if we feature your tip. So click through now, and I'll see you there.